All right, welcome back to the channel. This is Eye of the Storm. I'm your host, Biskill. Today we're going to talk about what happened with Aries Spears and DJ Vlad, what happened with DJ Vlad and Boosie. But before we get into that, I want to explain some concepts so that you will fully understand what is happening. Basically, Boosie finds out that Aries Spears, or Boosie finds out that 6ix9ine, Tekashi 6ix9ine, earned more money for his interview than Boosie did. Boosie, hearing this, asked for more money, and he and Vlad couldn't reach an agreement, and Vlad somehow exposed the actual amount that Boosie gets paid for interviews. Aries Spears, the comedian, hears the amount that Vlad is paying Boosie, which is around $20,000, and asks for a raise. Basically, what he's thinking, or the way he's seeing it is, Vlad is no longer paying Boosie for $20,000 an interview. He's currently paying me $4,000 an interview, meaning that he has a free $20,000 that he can work with and give me part of. That is the crux behind everything that we're talking about today. However, what I want people to understand is the actual relationship of employers and employees, which is actually what is being, that's the underlying feature, that's the central underlying feature of this entire discussion. These guys think they are contractors, they're independent contractors, and they have free will to, interact. But truly, it's actually an employer-employee relationship. It just doesn't have that. It just doesn't have that connotation. But that's actually what it is. And it's just like Aries calling up his boss and asking for a raise. And the boss says, well, you don't deserve a raise. Your performance index, your HR review says you don't indicate, your key performance indicators don't indicate that you need or deserve a raise. But the entire time, they think that they are equals and they are partners, which they are not. Because Vlad, he owns the video that comes out, he owns the equipment, he owns the channel, he owns the ads, he owns the back end, he owns the memberships, he owns the entire infrastructure that Boosie and Aries come on to participate in. They come in on a work day. Think about it like a 9 to 5. You got a job. Next thing, you are in a building. You didn't build the building. You don't pay for the electricity that allows you to do your work. You don't pay for the water. You don't pay for any of these things. You come in, you do your job, you leave on time, you get paid. That is the relationship between DJ Vlad and these people. But they don't seem to understand it. So what I'm trying to do now is to explain how and why they failed in their negotiation. Why they think that this is about respect or some kind of mutual respect and understanding. No, it's an employer-employee relationship. And I'll go through it with you very shortly. So let's start from the beginning. When you have somebody whom you dedicate your time, your body, your effort, your mental capacity, you dedicate it for that person's purposes, not yours. What do you call that? What relationship is that? That is a master-slave legal relationship. Now, before you get sensitive, slavery or a master-slave is the same thing as a master-servant. Let me show you. This is Merriam-Webster, servant, right? So here you have master-servant relationship. It's a legal term. It's a purely legal term. And it says whether a master can terminate the contract of a servant at any time. This is 2022. This is a Supreme Court case. And it says, it is well settled that the master has a right to terminate his servant's employment. Hear that word? His servant's employment. Right? His servant's employment for good or bad reasons or for no reasons at all. Except in employment governed by statutes wherein the procedure for employment and discipline of an employee are clearly spelled out, or any other employment outside the statute which is governed by the terms under the terms which the parties agreed to be master and servant. Parties agreed. Are you getting this? Parties agreed to be master and servant. When you sign a contract, an employee contract, when you sign the acceptance, you are accepting to be a servant. This is 2022. So a servant is not just a maid. It's not just a maid, a butler, a housekeeper, a steward, a retainer. Look, even a word like groom is a servant. So when you realize that you got married and you feel like a slave to your wife, that's because that's what you are. A servant, a groom. Get it? Same thing. Man, a man. When you have somebody who works for you, you call the person your man. I have a man, or a woman, or a girl, or a houseboy, or a housemaid. So your existence on this earth is determined by these relationships. We call it hierarchy, we call it order, we call it structure. That is how human beings have to organize themselves. We are not equals. We are not equals to each other. You are not equal to your parent. You're not equal to your teacher. You're not equal to your employer. You are not equals. So the idea that Aries comes out and says, oh, we need to arrange something that is fair. We need to make an arrangement that is fair. I gave you the earlier analogy. When you get a job, the job pays you, let's say the job pays you well. The job pays you $60,000 a year, $60,000 a year, or whatever the case may be. You go into your C-suite office. You didn't pay for that office. The computer was provided to you. Your internet access, your water supply, everything is provided for you. Your job is to go there and work. Who pays for all that? Who paid for all that? So you are going there to commit your time, your energy, your mindset to this person called your master. So look at all the synonyms to servant. Of course, these are the more modern uses, but all these things mean the same thing. A wench is a servant, but a woman is a servant. A man is a servant. Then you have a man servant, or a maid servant, or an assistant. An assistant is a servant. So everything depends on the actual relationship between both of you. But none of these words means you are equals. Why? Because you did not provide the infrastructure in which you are working. You did not buy the land where you go on and till the soil for master. You did not buy the land where you go and pick the cotton. Aries Spears did not buy Vlad's microphones and lighting and all these things that he does in order to make a good interview series. So, master, servant, right? So the key words here, we have employment, which we all understand, which is the new word. Employment is the new modern word post-slavery, post-COVID, post-George Floyd. That's the new word for master-servant relationship. Employment. So two keywords. We have master, we have servant, we have employment. You who works 9 to 5, you call yourself an employee. You are a servant. You are serving somebody. It doesn't matter how you're dressed. A house slave and a field nigger are the same thing. You are a servant. It doesn't matter whether you have to drive from your house to his house or quote unquote your master comes to you. You are still a servant. Busi, you are still a servant, Aries. And as a servant, you need to understand that your negotiating power, your powers of negotiation, are skewed against you. A master has the right to terminate his servant's employment for good or bad reasons, or for no reasons at all. That is exactly what has happened. But Vlad, in the spirit of transparency, has to come out and give you guys reasons. He doesn't need to. In fact, he didn't want to with Aries. He said, look, Aries went on his podcast and started talking, so I have to talk. So, next word, servant. What is a servant, right? Servant. So I clicked, this is the thesaurus for servant. You can see the words: retainer, man, woman, assistant, footman, manservant, a domestic, a housekeeper, a maid, a lackey, a butler, a groom, a handmaiden, a houseman, a follower, a wench, a gopher, a lady in waiting, interesting, an attendant, a companion, a servitor. Now let me show you something. When you look for the word slave, the first synonym for slave is servant. Bond servant, indentured servant, a helot, whatever the fuck that is. I've never heard that word before. An attendant. Slave means attendant, servant means attendant. By the transitive property, a slave is a servant. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. A slave is a servant. There is no distinction. So whenever you see a master-slave contract, a master-servant contract, it's a master-slave contract. And how do we describe that contract? We call it employment. Why do I say all this? I got into an argument on Twitter. I can't really pull up the discussion. But someone said that in Abuja, Nigeria, there are people who pay their house, like their gates, the guys who guard the gates, the guys who open the gates and secure the house, security guards at the gate, they pay them, I think the money was somewhere around 60,000 naira. And I personally thought that was a lot. But he said it in a way that 60,000 naira is too small, is too little, it's not a living wage. And he's kind of right. If you pay somebody 60,000 naira a month, I mean, in American dollars, honestly, I don't want to mention it because the currency is so terrible. It's less than $40 a month. So, for context, that's less than $40 a month, I think. So, or just over. Let's call it around 50. Let's call it $50 a month. That's what guards in Nigeria working the gate are being paid. And of course, he goes on this moral high ground tirade saying that people are wicked for paying that amount of money. And my question to them was this: what amount of money would you pay for such a person to enjoy his life? Are you trying to say that we should pay him 300,000 naira a month? Because that was my next point. My next point was, if you pay this guy, let's say 200,000 naira a month, he's going to stop doing the job of being a security guard. You have a house help. Most house helps, they get paid 30, 35, maybe 40 if they're lucky, 1,000 a month. If you start paying house helps 150,000 naira a month, they're not going to work for you anymore. They're not going to work for you anymore. Why? Because you've overpaid them. You've paid them in such a way that they can stop working, or they can find something else to do. That's how employment works. Employment is designed to keep you engaged for a period of time. That's why they say you only get paid every month. You only get paid every 2 weeks. You are trading time for the money that you get. I'm not trading your services or your employment or your labor for you to have a better life. No, I want your time. And I'll give you just enough money to make sure that you get here on time and you spend the required amount of time for you to be here to perform your service. That is the central organizing feature of the relationship. Indentured servitude is usually for a time. You have something called manumission. Manumission is the time that a slave can spend and no longer become a slave. Manumission. Where is it? Manumission. Alright, so laws of manumission. Alright? So they vary from society to society. They are often viewed as a litmus test of a particular society's view of the slave, that is, of the capacities the slave was likely to exhibit as a free human being. Remember, a slave is a servant, a slave is a servant is that. And let's, just for the fun of it, let's look at what an employee is. Let's look at an employee and get the synonyms. A worker, an assistant, a laborer, a yes man, a wage slave. Woo! We are cooking, guys. We are cooking. A wage slave, a jobber, a co-worker, a retainer, an associate. What do we call a servant, an assistant? Right? We have, where were the other? A retainer, right? So you can see that these three words, they overlap with one another. Why? They mean the same thing. We just call you an employee to make you feel better, to make you feel like an equal. So the word employer and employee, they're similar in the spelling and in the relationship, so it looks equal, but it's not. I'm actually your master. I'm actually your master, Aries Spears. I'm your master because you come into my domain. You put in your time and I pay you for your time. We're not equals. We're not in a contractual relationship of equals and partners. I may pay you like that, but I don't have to. After all, I am taking all the risk. I bear the cost of the expenses. I bear the cost of paying the editors and the uploaders and all the people who will spread the clips far and wide. That is the point. So you are an employee. An employee is a servant and a servant is a slave. We just use the word employee to make you feel better. After all, look at the similar words: 132, servant 49, employee 39. Why? Because the oldest word to describe what we call an employee is a slave. Because there's always been master slave. So let's continue. So laws of manumission, right? In Islamic societies, broadly interpreting Hebrew prescription, generally prescribed that slave owners had to free their slaves after the passage of a number of years. Time. Essentially, the length of time they consider it took for an outsider to become an insider. Time. After a period of time, then we can liberate you from your slavery, your employment, your servitude. They all mean the same thing. Most other societies allowed their masters to free their slaves whenever they wished. Whenever they wish. This is 2022. Whenever they wish. So it's hardly surprising and all these things. So birth, or yeah, whatever. So you get the point. The point is that Busi and Aries are slaves because over a period of time they've had to commit their time, their energy, their effort to another man who has a master contract and provides the infrastructure for you to do your job. The quicker people can understand that, the easier it will be for them to understand exactly the nature of the relationship. So them having their backs and forth, truly it just, well, I don't want to, because I think Vlad is striking everybody, so I'd rather just go to his website. So it tells DJ Ack, Aries Spears did all these things, and just so, I mean, I just had to get that out of the way. But my take on the Aries Spears DJ Vlad situation really is that mostly this is a black thing, right? This thing is a black thing because naturally, etymologically, ontologically, in all these things, slavery has always been a racial issue, right? Employment, slavery has always been a racial issue, right? So there's always going to be a problem when you're hiring people who are supposed to be slaves who are not slaves. And I know that sounds bad, that sounds racist, because I want you to think about it. Vlad interviews all sorts of people. Vlad interviews Asians. He interviews Hispanics. He interviews white people. He interviews Italians. He interviews all these people. Wow. Interesting. He interviews all these people, and he's not what's the word? How come Vlad doesn't have these kinds of arguments with whites, Asians, and Hispanics? Why? How come these types of petty discussions and arguments only occur with black people? Because there is a storied relationship, or not a storied relationship, but a special relationship between blacks and slavery. After all, slavery is not exclusive to black people. It's not. We just talked about the Arabs. We talked about the Hebrews. We talked about the Germanic peoples. Muscovy, that's not black, is it? Right? Attitudes towards slavery, the matter of race. Attitudes. So, the black people who have a special attitude to slavery, they have a problem. Ask any employer at a low level, small, medium, or micro scale enterprise if they have any problem with hiring black people. If there are any attendant problems when you hire black people. Issues of lateness, issues of truancy, issues of theft, dishonesty, issues of flimsy lawsuits. What was that woman? The woman who sued the gym. Woman sues gym after being late 47 times, right? So a woman sues the gym after being, Equinox, there we go. A woman, NYC jury gives new Equinox hire who showed up late 47 times, $11 million for race discrimination. She's back. We don't need to ask you what race is she. She is back. We know already that she's black because she was late 47 times. She was late 47 times in less than 11 months. Oh, sorry, 10 months. I'm sorry. But she still manages to cry racism, race discrimination, and win $11 million for her troubles. And that's the problem here. The problem is that you will never see D-Baby, 1090 Jake, Skip Bayless, Tekashi 69, any of these people crying about how much they're getting paid for the interview. So there's a problem. There's a problem because of the attitude and the special relationship that blacks have with slaves. Throughout history, slaves have often been considered to be stupid, uneducable, childlike, lazy, untruthful, untrustworthy, prone to drunkenness, idle, boorish, lascivious, licentious, and cowardly. Doesn't that sound familiar? Other terms for slaves include the apprentice, the pauper, the harlot, the felon, the actor, the complex image of the southern Sambo, or the Caribbean coercive. The favorite homology was the woman or wife, the minor, child, or the animal. So what are we saying? What are we trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that this issue, like on Joe Biden's, they'll probably say it's a racial issue, and it is a racial issue because only a black person will look over his shoulder at another servant, slave, and say, I want what he has. Woman, it's the jealousy, it's the slavery, it's the lasciviousness, it's the idleness, it's the boorishness, it's childlike. You look over and see, what does he have? I want what he has. That is what these people are doing. That is what Aries Spears is doing. So it's unfortunate because you have a good deal, Aries Spears does. Aries Spears has a good deal in what he does with VladTV, gets paid routinely, makes 48 grand a year, 12 times 4. And because of his appearances on Vlad, he starts, selling out venues in Connecticut, flies to Europe, does a European tour, goes to Saudi Arabia, gets the biggest pay of his life, and then you throw it all away because of $2,000. He was asking for $2,000 more, and he threw that all away. It's unfortunate, but it is a black thing, and it's a slave thing. These guys aren't partners. It's a master-slave relationship. I've explained why that is. Master-servant means that, and slave means servant. So that's the connection. That being said, I hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Out.